I finished school in '98 and I got into engineering. Generally getting to work sometime in the morning, and then from there do a whole lot of email answering in the morning just to kind of get all of that out of the way, and then the afternoons usually spent actually doing I do everything from kind of design work. I use mostly fireworks for my design work, and then building things in WordPress and just writing CSS and HTML, and doing all of that sort of busy work for clients. Yeah, that's basically what I do. So I don't market myself at all. Well, not sort of consciously or not. I don't have any sort of plan for marketing. That sounds like terrible business sense, and it sort of is. But basically through developing these networks of people that we work with, I get a lot of really high quality word of mouth marketing from friends, I guess. And so, and just by doing things like having a website by the Golden Grouse at the bottom of some reasonably popular websites, it sort of puts you in front of people enough. I'm really uncomfortable with the idea of really pushing, because I just want to stay small. I don't want to have lots of employees, and I don't want to have the overhead of a big studio where I have production managers and account managers and all of these sorts of middle people. I really want to stay doing the work myself. We started up another business called That Mob, a project manager and I, and another friend from another business, to kind of outsource that busy work of like all of the paperwork and the quoting and so forth, to a separate company, and the way that company makes money is by doing it for a lot of different people. So That Mob now represents a bunch of other small web design and graphic design companies that are in a similar position to me. I try and keep my inspiration really local, because I think when I was studying there was a few sites like News Today and Caliber 10,000 and a few others that were really influential to students at the time, and everyone kind of looked at the same sources, and then student projects kind of eventually all looked the same, and then studios were actually doing a lot of the same sort of work as well. And I found that while it's really good to look internationally at things, you have to kind of hone it in a bit, and I find that we've got such a rich group of people doing really amazing things in Melbourne quietly without like shouting about it. I don't really like looking too much at other people that are doing web stuff, because you think you get too competitive, and I'm not a competitive person. So I prefer to look at architecture and really beautiful graphic design and just those sorts of things, and even things like landscapes and looking at just found objects and that sort of thing is much more, and photography is much more inspirational to me than looking at other websites. So we've got some projects that run like this and they're quite structured, and then we've got other ones that sort of depend on clients dipping in and out as they're interested in their website. And most of it is just during the Meredith and Golden Plains 3 months or whatever of the year, I pretty much just focus on that, and then outside of that we just manage projects as they come along. But yeah, generally I really like meeting with people. That's the main thing, is that being able to sit down with people and talk to them about their project is pretty much the most important part of working out whether I want to take a job on or not. Generally working with the client first, working out what their intention is with the website, really working out what their focus and their goals are, and then kind of trying to extrapolate some kind of idea of an aesthetic from all of these different bits of information. So you really want to talk a lot to the client about their motivations for doing things, and then you can kind of work out from that first discussion whether or not that it's going to work out. I don't push anything on clients. I don't like pushing an aesthetic. I don't feel like time management's probably really bad. Like the way that I look at my work, I don't feel like it has this need. I don't really respond well to that sort of thing. I've worked out. And so if I have something that's built into the operating system or whatever to nag me, that's not going to work. In terms of turning off, I'm terrible. Like I go to bed and I've got an iPad and an iPhone next to me, and I'm like, well, I could just. But I come in and out of that, and what I was saying about Twitter before is that falling in and out of love with it is that sometimes you just feel like it's all a bit too much, like that you're just getting too much thrown at you, and you need to. That's when you need to recognise it. Just put it away. Don't have a hissy fit. Just put it away, put it aside, go outside and do something different for a while. What I'm most proud of is being able to stick it out, and I think you go through phases being a small business of just like being right on the edge of like just like your billings behind and you've got rent due and all of these sorts of things, and there's pressure there, and you're like, I could just walk out and get a job now and this would all be solved. And I think so that there's that thing of like, you know, 70% of businesses fail in the first 3 years or something like that. Or it might even be higher than that. I think just being able to write it out, I feel a lot more confident about things now, and that's probably the biggest thing. I think the other thing is like having forged really good long-term relationships with a few clients that I just have like, I can have just brilliant discussions with them, and I have a lot of latitude in terms of doing work for them and bringing my own interests to things without them necessarily being kind of aesthetic things, just interests in terms of usability and functionality and just things that would benefit them and that sort of thing. That's another thing that I'm really proud of, is kind of having developed those relationships. That definition of the success changes again, and you're like, well, my definition of success right now is being able to pay myself, you know, and so yeah, definitely the scope of success just wildly varies in those first few years, and I think I'm kind of, success for me is just being able to keep going, you know, keep doing what I'm doing and doing it in a way that's profitable enough for me that I'm able to, you know, enjoy life, you know.